this piece right here, so this upper leg. We want it to fit with this joint, which is an oddly shaped piece here, kind of a half circle. But when it gets down to the knee, we want it to be more of a basic circle shape, but we want to have kind of a nice blend between those two shapes. So if we were using splines, then we could use something like a loft, which we looked at to create the forearm here. But since we already have the kind of place where we want this to meet up, we basically already have that initial shape. So what we can do is take this piece of geometry and grab those faces and actually use those as the basis for the top of our leg. So let's select those faces, just the ones on the top here. Now I don't want to get rid of those faces. I just want to create a new object that just has those faces in it. So I'll right click, and what we want to do is split this off, and you can kind of see it's going to be down towards the bottom. I don't think you're going to be able to see it. So we'll, instead of using right click, we'll go ahead and use one of the menus. So let's come over here to Mesh, Commands, and let's just do a split. So now we have two pieces of geometry. We have our original piece with the highlighted faces, and then we have our new piece here. Let's go ahead and drag this out of any hierarchy that it might be in. And if we pull this off of the surface, you can see that that original face is still there. We'll go ahead and leave it as is, and we'll just call this leg top so we can keep it straight. All right, now we need a bottom part for the leg. We know that we want that to be more circular shape, so this is already a polygon, so we're not going to use a spline, but let's use another polygon object. So we'll go to primitives, and let's choose a disc, because we just need a flat piece of geometry. Now we just need to put this into position. So let's grab the disc, and I'm just going to come over on the same side here. Let's dial down the outer radius until we get something close to what we want, and we can come in from the side as well. Come in and begin to rotate this just in one axis. Something like that. Let's kind of move this over into position. And I think I want the radius to be a bit bigger. So something like that. Now it's not completely round, that's okay. We just want to use this as a kind of a starting point. So a few things that we want to do first. We want the resolution of this to match. And so I'm going to take the disc segments, take those down, and then the rotation segments I want to be the same as the resolution of this piece. And so let's take a look at this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12, 13, and 14. So we've got 14 lines coming around. So let's set our rotation segments to that same number. So I'll just put in 14 here. Now we want these to be part of the same object. So let's go ahead and make the disk editable. And let's take the disk, and I'm just going to control click the leg top, right click, and we want to make this one object. So we're going to go to connect objects, and then if you want to get rid of the originals, you can say delete. Otherwise you can just say connect. But let's say connect and delete. So now we have one object that consists of both of these pieces here. Okay. And so we can just make sure that our knee is in the right place. We can modify this if we want to. So let's select our disc. We can select just the points down here, and we kind of scale that in a little bit so that it matches what we want to do. And then we need to create some geometry between these. Now I want the leg to be a little bit smaller than what we've got here. And so let's take this, and I'm just going to do an inner extrude to make it a little bit smaller. And then let's just invert the selection, and then deselect the bottom part there. Get rid of those. And let's get rid of any extra points that we might have. All right, now I'm going to select the outer loop. So we'll do loop selection, and let's say select boundary loop. So we'll select that one and this one. And now I'm going to do a stitch and sew. So stitch and sew, right click, and I'm just going to pick an edge, shift, drag to that edge. And so it'll pull down the geometry and create new faces that match up with the faces that we have down here. So we're basically going from a very specific shape up here to something that's a little bit more round down here. Now we can go in and start to add, using our knife, can add some edge loops. So add one right in there, right there. They come down like that. Now we can see what it looks like when we smooth it. You can see it's really soft up at the top, so let's add an edge loop right up here. Kind of tighten that up. And then down here, I want to actually have a little bit more of like a beveled look. You can kind of see it there. So let's take the bottom of this. I'm just going to select the faces. Let me turn off subdivision for now. Let's do an extrude. And I'm just going to scale this in a bit so we get a little bit more of a bevel. Let's do an extrude inner. Okay, let's do it again. And then we want to leave space for the knee, so let's extrude this in. And then I'm going to go back to the knife. And we want these edges to be nice and tight, so I'm going to actually add edge loops beside these edges so that when we smooth them, we will get a nice beveled edge. And let's turn off our wireframe so we get something like that. So it's the look we're going for is sort of a toy look, so it can rotate along that axis, but you're not going to get a ton of freedom from the rotation, but I like the way the design works. Okay, you can check that matches up pretty well. So once we've got that, the next thing that we want to do is build the lower leg, which is going to be a little bit simpler. So let's go ahead